Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another on-location edition of Mic'd Up Sports. We have profiled dozens of guests in our 4 years, and my guest today is someone who we've been trying to get on our podcast for a little while, but it finally worked out. It's LaShayla Wright-Ponder. You might remember her from her time at Bloomington Kennedy, and then played college ball at South Dakota, Hampton, and Tampa. Must have racked up a lot of miles there. And she recently finished her first season as a professional overseas player. And LaShayla, I know you've been eager to share your story for some time. And so why don't we start with just mentioning how you've been, how your first season went, and where you are now that you have that first full season of professional basketball, which, if I remember correctly, involved 2 overseas leagues and then a stint in WNBL 1.
Yes. So I started playing off in Australia, Sydney, Australia, NBL 1 team, semi-pro team. And it was, beside basketball, it was beautiful. I liked it the way, the language, the way people were talking, the food. It was overall beautiful. I went snorkeling. I went everywhere in Australia. So the basketball was great competition. I was playing against girls. I played against Lauren Jackson's team, actually. I forgot what team she actually played for, but she played on the NBL 1 team in the same league. So it was great competition. Everything was just beautiful there. The weather, basketball was great, and I just loved it there. Yeah.
That is NBL 1, I remember now. And we'll talk a little more about that journey as we make our way through, but I guess we'll start at the beginning. You've been almost fanatical about this sport ever since we connected many years ago. I feel like I'm dating myself with that, but can you give us that first itch, that first memory that got you hooked on this sport of basketball?
Well, first I started out playing with karate, or did karate. My mom took me to I don't know where we was driving. We drove like 3 hours away, and she wasn't telling me where we're going. It was first basketball practice team with, it was Wisconsin team. It was just a practice, and then came back a week later, practiced with a team called Minnesota Monarchs. And first practice, of course, I didn't know where the free throw line was. I didn't like it. It was like, I was just like, why am I dribbling the ball? Why am I putting the ball in the basket? And I just kept doing. I fell in love with it, because at first I hated it, but the more I practiced, the more I'll be outside watching or playing basketball outside, watching NBA, WNBA, and I'm like, okay, there's something I like to do. So I fell in love with it as I started playing more. It just, one day, I don't know what age, but one day it clicked, and I'm like, I love this game. And I quit karate, and I just started playing ball. Yeah, I used to sleep with basketballs and be like, I just fell in love with the ball, and I'm just like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
I wonder now what might have been had you stuck it out with karate, although I do know at least one player who found time to fit in both. Breon January, I think she holds a black belt as well. So there still might be time for you to pick that up and do both things. But I did not know you had karate as your first choice. So remind me never to mess with you.
Well, karate, it was, as a kid, I was, be honest, I was defiant, but my mom wanted me to, I was always, active. I never sat down, I just always wanted to do something. So she's like, well, let's start off with karate. I don't know why she did that, but we started off with karate, and then I'm like, karate, I love karate. And then one day she said, well, you're always running, you're always active and always throwing things. Let's just start with basketball. So, and ever since then, I just blossomed with it. So it was, ever since then, I'm glad I turned from karate and started playing basketball.
Or maybe you pick up karate after you're done with basketball, because you'll have a lot of time, I imagine, to handle that. So a defiant karate kid, that was your youth until basketball came along?
Yeah, I did karate out from age 5 to 6. It was only a year, because I remember it was something quick. I think I ended off on I don't remember what belt I ended off on. It wasn't black for sure, though. Wasn't that advanced, but I was so close. I forgot, it was 2 belts before black, and I don't remember what belt it was, but that's where I ended off, and then that's when I started playing basketball. And I was like, okay, well, throw away karate, we're gonna play basketball. So
So what did you enjoy about basketball once you picked that up? You just said you slept with basketballs, and we've had a lot of conversations over the years. That love for the game hasn't diminished one bit. What attracted you to the sport?
I just, I think many things. I think by watching it, being around it, because my family, out of all my family, I'm the main one that actually went pro and played college, well, beside my sister, but I actually went further with it. I was always around uncles and uncles, cousins, brothers playing basketball, street ball, and in the backyard. I always played with them, and I just fell in love through there. It helped me, like, realize, okay, this is a sport where you can release some stuff, whatever you're going through and stuff like that. So I just, if I fell in love with doing that. And I guess what the funny thing is, to this day, I don't even like running. I just like putting the ball in the hoop. Something about it. I don't like running. I don't like the cardio, but come behind it, I just like putting the ball in the basket. And that's to this day, even to a young age to now, I'm like, I don't like running. I don't like cardio. I like to just put the ball in the basket. Can I just walk with the ball and put it in there? Sometimes I think like that. So that's just what, basketball was. Yeah.
So how much do you dread those cardio workouts during the off season, middle of the season, to stay in shape? If you don't like running, I have to imagine those workout sessions are just really grueling and taxing on your morale.
Well, I had to be disciplined, of course, because even throughout college, college where I started, high school, it was like, okay, well, it matters, but not as much as college. So I had to just be disciplined. Like if I know I want to continue to play, I have this. Number one is cardio. You got to stay in shape. You can't, if you are out of shape, obviously you're not gonna go far with it. You're gonna be not just miserable sitting on the bench, but you're just not gonna play. They're gonna cut you. You're gonna do all that. So I had to just be disciplined and just bow down. Like, okay, you have to stay in shape. You have to run. You have to run to stay in shape and play the sport. You can't walk with it. You can't, So I just train my mind to be disciplined, and it's just discipline for me. I don't even think about it. I just do it now. I mean, even though I don't like running, but I just do it. I just do it. Wake up every morning, go work out at LA Fitness, Planet Fitness, or wherever I find a gym at, and just go there and just run. Like I always do, and just stay disciplined. Stay disciplined.
As you were making your way through the sport, in your youth, up through high school, who were the people that you idolized? Because I see you have a Kobe Bryant hoodie. I know you're a LeBron James fan too, and there would have to be at least one fan that's going right now because of, you probably heard about all that chatter between who's the best over MJ, Kobe, LeBron, and I think there's plenty of room. I put all three of them in the Mount Rushmore of the NBA, but just don't ask me who was the best. But who are the players, professional or it could be family, who were the people you wanted to be when you committed to this sport?
It's funny because it's not even it's no WBA players. It's actually NBA. So to this day, it's still LeBron and Kobe, but it's LeBron more because he's still playing. So it's really just LeBron. That's actually the first player that when I started playing, he was like, I don't know how old I was or how old he was when I started like in basketball. I'm sure he was probably in high school or something like that.
He started in 2003.
So I don't know.
2003 was his first season. So you would have been
I was
6, 7.
Yeah, so I was around that age where I was like, okay, because that's when he really blew up. A kid coming out of I forgot what like Ohio, I think it was.
Yeah, Ohio.
And he was the first player. I was just like, okay, oh my gosh, what is he doing to his body? That's all I was thinking. I thought he was literally he wasn't human. So it was just. LeBron is the only player to this day is still LeBron, and nothing changed about that. And not even just for basketball, he's like paying for people's colleges, and I mean he's doing stuff like it's bigger than basketball to him. Like it's not just I'm trying to train these kids to be like me or be better than me. He's out here doing paying for people's colleges that. It's expensive, even though I think education should be for free, but he's out here doing more than he's supposed to, and so he's always been my idol, and great man, all that. He's a great person. That's where it starts, and that's why I idolize him, and he's bigger than basketball.
And yet you came with a Kobe Bryant hoodie. But it tells me, though, you've got room for everybody. And what you said, I think, is quite profound. It's starting to change now with more exposure to the women's game. But you remember I did a bunch of all-star games. I still do. And every time I have the players introduce themselves and I'd ask, who is your favorite player? And you still get a few NBA players. I haven't really taken the time to chart percentages because that's not why I'm there. But for a while, there were a lot of men's players. Even when you were a senior, I remember covering you at one of the All-Star games, and a lot of athletes at the time listed NBA players. And there's nothing wrong with that. But now I'm hearing more women's players. I covered this national All-Star event in Dallas, this girls' high school All-Star game, and a few even listed Caitlin Clark. So it is curious, and I think you represent maybe that shift or the tone where a lot of women's players grew up idolizing the men, and there's still plenty of room for that, of course, but now you're starting to see a few more women's players get mentioned.
Yeah, actually, Paige is somebody I idolize too. Of course, LeBron comes first because, you know, he's LeBron. I always...
He also predated Paige by a few years. Paige was just a little sprout.
Even though I am older than her, she is also somebody I look up to, even though I'm older than her. But she's, I mean, wow. Like, all I can say is wow. Like, I mean, even though she's going through many injuries, she's the person I look at too. Like, I never had an injury, even though I'm still currently playing. Knocking on wood, she's strong for somebody that, like, she's also a great person, and her heart is big. LeBron's heart is big too, but it's just something about Paige where it makes me feel like, okay, look what she's been through. I mean, she come from the same state I come from, maybe different city, but she blew up, and she's helped. She's also, I believe currently right now, she's opened a grocery store here somewhere around here, and that's another for homeless, I believe, to, you know, help people. And that's another thing why I say, like, you know, people like that always have a special place in my heart, because it is bigger than basketball, because one day we're going to not play no more, and then we got to deal with life. So yeah, she's also, on the women's side, she is one I idolize too.
When did you sense that basketball was the sport that could take you places? When you picked it up, traded basketball for karate, or the other way around? I think you know where I'm going with. You decided to commit to basketball. When did you feel like, hey, this might get me to a college, or in your case, it got you to a pro position, which is not easy to do. But when did you feel like this is what I was meant to do, if you know what I'm saying?
Yes, definitely sophomore year in high school. Part of freshman year, but sophomore year, it was just a dramatic change in me, I guess. Like, I took basketball seriously after I did college, but not as I did when I was in sophomore in high school. I guess when I was always told, okay, you gotta have a certain GPA to continue playing on a team. And that's when I started taking it seriously. I started growing more love for the game, just more being around it more. Yeah, it was just something that just hit me one day. I started just, after school, I mean, going to the gym on my own, or I see somebody in the gym, I shoot with them, we play 3-on-3. It was just something just grew in me that I started loving the game. But it was definitely sophomore year. I remember that dramatic change in me. I'm like, I love the game. I know I could go far with this, and I just knew.
That is an interesting chapter or junction, LaShayla, because I remember seeing you. I covered Kennedy a couple of times when your big sister was a senior, Leanna, if I remember correctly. I remember going to a couple of those Kennedy games, and I remember seeing you as well. What was that like, playing alongside your big sister? I think it was for a year, but
Oh yes.
how did that perhaps feed into this passion of yours?
I should have mentioned that first. Yes, playing with my sister.
Oh, she's gonna come after you now.
Yes.
She and her son or her daughter or
son.
Yeah. So yes, your big sister and your nephew, they're gonna have some words with you when they see this. Yeah. I jumped on you though. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, my sister, yeah, it was definitely a blessing. When I realized I was playing with her, I'm like, yes, this is definitely, like, I'm playing for her, but I'm also playing for my other family too. Playing with her was just because I know she was going far with it too, but not as far as I would like. Once she in her career, I went further with it too. So I'm like, okay, well, and I knew back then. I feel like I predicted the future a little bit. It helped me play harder playing with her because I wasn't just playing for myself. It was for her, and it just playing alongside her made me play harder because just playing for her and playing for my family.
Now, what about your younger sister? I
Yes.
forget her name.
Layla.
Layla.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself playing alongside Layla?
Layla is not. She's actually in gymnastics right now. She's very active. 8 years old. I told her, "Do you want to play basketball?" And she's like, "No, I want to be a hairdresser. I want to be I want to do gymnastics." So she's doing gymnastics and working on hairdressing stuff. So not quite yet. I think when she's a little older, she's 8 years old now. So right now she's in like the age where she knows exactly. She kind of like me. I feel like when I was 8, like I knew what I want to do, but she's also all over the place. Like she's active. She like doing a lot of things, but she's mainly right now doing gymnastics and gosh, I forgot what I was just gonna say. Gymnastics hairdressing, yeah. So she does that on the side. She has little dolls at the house and braiding her hair, and so she's doing that.
Are you confident enough in her abilities where you've let her practice on your hairdo?
I actually did. It was actually a couple weeks ago. She did it a little bit, but I told her, I said, okay, let's take it slow because I don't want it to, because she's so used to practicing the actual fake dolls, and I'm like, okay, this is my real hair, so you gotta so yeah, she tried it a lot. Well, last week it was the more time she did before, but she tried it previous times, and it was. I'm gonna start letting her do it now because she's doing a good job for 8-year-old.
On top of that, too, you're not a doll. Like, you have feelings and have nerve systems and all of that. So I could see that apprehension, or like, hey, let's start slow because not only is that your real hair, but there's a lot of other parts that could get messy if you don't know what you're doing. Well, I was thinking it too. You were talking about the age difference. Like, you'd be close to 40, I think, by the time she cleared college. So I don't know if you plan to play that long. Although you did play against Lauren Jackson, who gave it one more go after retiring from the WNBA. So who knows? Maybe you write it out. Diana Taurasi's still playing in her 40s. Sue Bird in her 40s. She just retired last year. So you know what? I won't rule it out.
Yes.
Maybe there is room for you and Layla together.
For sure.
Well, speaking of that, too, I think you're the tallest. Well, you're the tallest of the female siblings, I think, in your family.
I have an younger brother. He's turning 19 actually on June 2nd. He's 6'3", 6'4", so he's around that age. So I'm not the tallest, but I was when he wasn't. Being the second oldest, I'm second oldest, and he's the third oldest, so he's the tallest right now.
Well, the point I was going to make is, what was that like for you growing up, being one of the taller figures? I think you're 6'1", 6'2". Okay, but what was that like? I asked that not to poke fun or to make light. I think you understand where I'm coming from here. But a lot of guests, I've had them on when they're up in height or they're up there. How was that for you, just growing up, being one of the taller figures? And perhaps how did basketball help you accept your identity and who you are and everything that makes you you?
Yeah, I mean, being the tallest, I didn't think anything of it. I just thought it was just normal. I didn't think I was just always up there and somebody was lower. It was something normal to me. But as far as basketball, I was never the tallest. The tallest girl I had on the team was 6'5". So even high school, I was probably the second tallest or third tallest, but never the tallest actually. So high school, definitely not. College, definitely not. Pro, I was a second tallest on the team. So everywhere I played, Australia, Serbia, and Germany. So I was never the tallest, but I was in that 3 or 4.
And referencing what you said about your freshman to sophomore year, where you felt like things were coming into place, it was your sophomore year where you made it all the way to the state championship. And Kenesha Bell was a teammate of yours. E.C. Odor, I think, was another one. And Honor Finley, I think she was in the same grade level as you. Or was she a year younger?
I think a year younger. Yeah.
But there were some notable names that came through, and unfortunately, you weren't able to finish it off with the title. But what did that do for your confidence? Even if you didn't get the gold medal, and that's something I think every player strives for, but you've probably understood that everyone doesn't always get their turn. But in any event, how did that sophomore year where you made it to state, made it all the way to the final, gave yourself a chance to win it, what do you think that did to increase your confidence in this sport of basketball?
Of course, I was heartbroken by the loss. As a young player, it didn't hit me as much as the older girls like Kanisha Bell, Isi Odor, Tanoa Wade, Jade. It didn't hit me as hard because I understood, but I didn't understand all the way. I'm like, okay, well, there's also next year. It's always, but I didn't realize, okay, I believe Kanisha Bell and the rest was also seniors or juniors. I can't remember exactly, but they were older, so it hit them much harder. As me, it helped. I was hurt because what hurt me the most is seeing my teammates cry. And it didn't hit me because I'm like, okay, I know I got years left. I got a couple years left, 3 years or whatever, between 2 or 3 years left I had. So it didn't hit me as hard, but looking at them, knowing the work they put in, like Kanisha Bell, like to this day, she's playing in Israel. Tanoa Wade, Jade, I know they worked their butt off. In practice, it was very it was more than hard. There's another word for hard, but it was definitely every day it was tough because we were prepared for that. I feel like we prepare for these teams more than anybody else in the league. So it was hard for me seeing them, cry and knowing they put the work in. And but for me, it helped me also boost my confidence in a way because I'm like, okay, well, now I know what to expect for next year. It might be new players coming in, but what do you have to do to prepare yourself? Like eating right, getting the proper sleep, training. So all that came into part. And I'm like, okay, well, now I know, okay, state championship, everybody plays differently throughout, like they did previous during the conference. So I have to prepare better, eating better, sleeping better. Training is just the main thing I was worried about was nutrition because as a young kid, we all like the candy. We all like the chips, all that
I
stuff.
still do.
Yeah.
And I'm 150 pounds. I don't know how I managed to pull it off.
So I had to realize, okay, well, you got to start eating right and start training more. Because I trained on my own time, but not as much as I did with the older kids or how they prepare for themselves. So I'll definitely say, nutrition was number one, but also training, being serious. Don't just go in the gym and shoot around. Actually get cones out. Have somebody rebound for you, have a shooting machine. So it helped me boost my confidence. I knew I had to do the next year to prepare, even though, next year it didn't happen either. But I feel like I grew as a player, as a person, because basketball, it has to take me many places, but it helped me as a player to be more responsible and just don't take life for granted. So it helped me grow.
Well, that following year, if I remember, Tyra Spencer was hurt, and you had
Yes.
to shoulder the load. And then your senior year, you did quite well and came up a bit short against Holy Angels in sections. And it's one of those, I'm sure everyone thinks, what if? But I don't think that stopped you. Clearly it didn't because, what am I saying? You're a professional. That didn't discourage you for long. But what do you remember most about that high school experience, and how do you think that helped mold you into the player that you've become?
What I remember most is after each year I grew, whether it was, in different ways that I can't think of, but it helped me grow in a way as a person, okay, all these people telling me, all these good people around me telling me how college is. The real life hits you after high school, which I don't believe. I believe it's after college if you choose to go to college. All these people around me, I grew each year because the people around me, like yourself, you helped me out too, in a way. just hear me out. My coaches, my mom, sister, everybody around me it was the people. It's what they did, not what they were telling me, but it was the people. It was just what they did for me. Rather it was good, bad, ugly. They were always there. But it helped me grow. Don't take life for granted. Don't take people for granted. If you don't do that, they're gonna do anything for you. So that's what I remember. Beside basketball alone was just something I did on side, not who I am. But it was just the people that are around me that helped me out, and I gotta give back. I gotta give them, something in return, and I'm working on that to this day. So it's rather you bought me something from a store, or if they gave me, I need somebody to talk to someday. Something, whether I borrow money, whatever it is, it was the people that helped me, throughout my years. That's what I remember.
Well, come to think of it, LaShayla, I do have that list of receipts that I kept. No, I'm kidding. I don't. No, no, I don't. So no, I'm not going to be sending you any bills. But But you talked about how it helped prepare you for college, and like you said, real life doesn't hit you until after college. And I can understand that because so many basketball players and athletes, they're all pining for that spot on a college team. But when do you remember getting your first offer, and what initially led you to South Dakota? Because I know you started there, and then their coach ended up going to Nebraska, so you gave Hampton a try, and then Tampa. There's a lot that I'm trying to encapsulate with this because your journey took a rather circuitous path. But when did you get that first offer? How many offers did you get? And if you don't mind, just explain how your journey started in South Dakota and ended up in Tampa.
Okay, so AAU is the summer basketball league that I played in. AAU was actually where I got majority of my looks from colleges. High school was there, but high school college coaches are there, but not as much as AAU. So every summer after high school, I played in AAU. So AAU, I played on the Minnesota Stars, and we were ranked 3rd in the country. Played against girls probably drafted to this day or made it far in college. AAU, Minnesota Stars, Tracy Martin was my coach. And playing on that team helped me open up so many opportunities for me. Once I played and started producing, they started coming to the games. Michigan State, South Dakota. South Dakota and Hampton was at almost all my games, if I remember. I remember Hampton specifically because they were always wearing blue. Every from top to bottom, they were wearing blue. South Dakota was wearing red, so that's why I remember just head to toe red. So I just remember those 2 schools in South Dakota.
So green schools, orange schools, yellow, you wouldn't remember any of those colors, just red and blue?
I do, but they always stood out because I always remember seeing the same face. And I'm like, okay, every time I'm at the free throw line or if I'm, on the bench, I look over and I'm like, oh.
You were looking around to seeing who was, I get it.
It was so packed there.
I know some players, okay, because some players, they just have a laser focus or like one-track mind.
Yeah.
Once the game starts, they shut everything else off, and here you are peeking around like, all right, who are these people?
Yeah, because as a young, I don't remember, I think I was maybe 10, 11 maybe when I started playing on Minnesota Stars. It was all, every game was packed with college coaches. That's where I got my offers, and they would call my coach after the game like, we like her, we like, like Nia Holly, she played on my team too. So Ashley Bates, Kaja Woodman, LaShayla, and then Liz, the other post player I played with. So it was so many players. Elena Jarnot, she played with me too. So it was after every game, they always just call my coach. He would ask us. He won't ask us when we were like 10 or 11, but when we got a little older, he was like, oh, these coaches like you guys. You guys are interested in. I forgot what age it was starting when they were really like calling him, sending letters. I would get letters when I'm like 15, 14, at least. I think that's where I started getting letters from. Make a long story short, I narrowed my list down when it came, I think my junior year in high school. Still playing. I narrowed all down my offers. I think most offers I had was like 23, 24. My highest was Vanderbilt in Kentucky. South Dakota, I chose them out of all of them because the coaches, I grew relationship with the coaches. I didn't care about being at a big school. I didn't care about, the hype and all that. It was, I cared about would I be taken care of, the best education and the best, the basketball was kind of secondary, but education was okay. Am I going to be in a small classroom, big classroom? So I looked at all of that. In South Dakota, all of them was the one, it was close to home, 5 or 4 hours away. But it was mainly the relationship I built with going on the visit and driving down there and seeing the campus. And I just grew, it was something about South Dakota. It was just like that piece that I needed. And I'm like, okay. Growing up, like for example, my mom, raised 4 kids of her own. I'm like, okay, I didn't care about being in the spotlight. I didn't care about being on a big state, Kentucky, or I didn't really care about, that. I wanted just to go somewhere I'm close to home. If something dramatically happens, I can go home easily, or even though it's 5 hours away. But it was just something that I felt. I'm a family. I cried like a baby when my mom left me. When I got there in South Dakota, when she.
I'm glad you explained that because for a second I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. When she left, when she decorated my room.
I'm a horrible person.
When she decorated my college dorm and she got to leave, after when they say goodbye, and it would cry like a baby, but I got used to it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be doing this for the next 3 or 4 years. If I decide to transfer, I'm gonna, be traveling. I'm not gonna be home like that. So South Dakota was my my heart until, coaches left. But, it's all right, And then I got to Hampton a semester later. Great school, I didn't last long for other reasons. I won't go in depth about it. But I liked it was a beautiful state, Virginia. Great basketball, great. Every place I played in, the education of basketball was always, good to me. I left Hampton, I think, in 2018, 2019. Went to Tampa. That's a Division II school in Tampa, Florida. So Tampa was, I looked at it as a D1 college. I mean, it was just, the coaches were similar to the South Dakota coaches. They were very welcoming. I knew I was going to be okay. Like, even if they were D2, I didn't care about that. I didn't want to sit out a year to transfer to D1, so I chose to drop down. So, Tampa was definitely like South Dakota. The only difference was just it was bigger campus, and it was a bigger campus, more resources, but that's about it. But the coaches were similar to the South Dakota one. So, yeah, Tampa was my last stop, and I would definitely recommend anybody go to Tampa. I mean, beautiful school, beautiful state. They would treat you like, like family. They will love on you. If you decide not to play basketball, even though you did 4 years there, they're not gonna be like, oh, why you pursue it? They're gonna work with you, man. You're gonna get your education for sure.
And LaShayla, you probably are aware of this, but Tampa has scooped up a few more Minnesotans.
Yes.
In recent years. But it was your time in Tampa. You spent quite a while there. You had the bonus COVID year, of course, and decided to stick it out to get your master's degree. I know you had talked to me about your plans for studying criminal justice and how you like to pursue that when you're done playing basketball. But what was it like having to go through the COVID year and then ending up playing basketball? I think you got 6 years in college out of all of it. So you got your master's degree, got all of that taken care of, but...
Well, I got my bachelor's of science in criminal justice. I'm still working on a master's online, so...
Okay, well, you will get there. So we'll have to do this again when she gets her master's, and then we can properly update you. But what was that experience like for you to go through as a player to have all of these transitions in your life? And you talked about being a crybaby when your mom had to say goodbye to South Dakota. Like, imagine going all the way down in Tampa, which is not exactly a 5-hour drive.
1,000 miles away. Yep.
And then you have the COVID year on top of it, and you decided to ride it out up until this past year. Just what do you remember from all of that? Because that probably isn't something any coach or any player can prepare for, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. COVID, it's crazy to say it was a benefit, but it wasn't. So the benefit was, yes, I got my Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice in 2020. The bad thing about it was I didn't walk. I was in front of a screen just looking. They're calling people's names, as if you're walking down the stage. I did get I did get my degree, which is a good thing, but I liked it being online. I didn't like waking up at 8 a.m. going to class. That's the only thing I liked about COVID. And then, yes, beside basketball, the stimulus checks. It helped me out pay while I was in, because after your undergrad, you don't get those checks where you like every semester as a student athlete. I forgot what they were, but I think it was a stipend. Stipend, yes.
Because NIL, I don't think started until after the COVID year.
Mm-hmm.
You and that Stars team, LaShayla, I think you all play too early. No, ITs, but so continue though. You talked about not getting the stipends like you would as an undergrad, and so
that helped by if I didn't want to eat campus food or something, I can, or not even just that, just getting stuff I need for my dorm. That helped me out getting stuff beside people sending me money or my family sending me money for that. But COVID, it kind of, not kind of, but all the way, I was depressed, but I was happy. I had like 5 jobs, like, well, not like full time, but I was working at like the Buck Stadium down there with Tom
Raymond James.
Yeah, Raymond James. I was working as a security guard there, make sure people, regular security guard, working on campus. So I had like many jobs. It wasn't like I was like unemployed. So the benefit was I had jobs compared to people that couldn't get a job during COVID. So it was I'm happy I kept money in my pocket. It wasn't like I was like, okay, I'm depressed. But then, depressed because I had money, but I was depressed because I was not playing the game. I thought I was just wasting my year. I'm like, okay, I'm not playing the game. This is a waste of a year. Why am I here? So every day I was thinking basketball-wise, I'm like, okay, I don't want to use my time working, the time I could be training and working, but I have to because we were in surviving mode. During COVID, everybody was trying to survive. Everybody was trying to make sure don't touch nobody, don't be around nobody, be more than 6 feet. So at the time I was happy, I was depressed, and it's crazy because I was happy because I was still getting money, I was still having jobs to help me, keep money in my pocket. But then I was also very depressed because I'm here to play basketball too. I'm here to get a degree. Yes, I got a degree. I started my master's during COVID, but I was like, I gotta still play. I mean, I feel like I was getting out of shape, but even though I kept training, kept practicing, but I was not feeling like I was myself, but I wasn't. Like I was like, okay, I'm happy I got money, but money don't buy happiness, and it was a weird but fun year, weird, happy, depressed year. It was all that in the mix. It was 50-50. It was all that. It was up and down, but I'm happy that I was fortunate enough to keep a job, have money in my pocket, because you hear stories where people were, COVID messed up a lot of people, but for me, it messed up basketball-wise, because I'm like, okay, should I continue to play? Do I want to play? I don't want to get sick. I don't want to die from this. So I was thinking about all of that at the same time. So it was mainly depression because of basketball. Other than that, I was, doing my thing, and I was working, and I was getting money in my pocket.
Something I've learned, LaShayla, no two stories in terms of COVID are alike. I know it hit me hard because I couldn't broadcast with all the pandemic protocols. So I was pretty much sidelined for an entire year. And in my head, I'm thinking, am I going to get passed on the depth chart? Does this mean someone else is going to take over? Fortunately, that didn't happen. But I get it. I think for everybody, you're thinking of all these scenarios and you're wondering what's the future going to look like. I've said it's amazing how we were able to return to some semblance of normal in just 3 years. But you were able to get a proper finish, I should say, those last couple of years in Tampa. What do you recall from your experience? You talked about there's some changes between Division I and Division II, and I wonder if you would have made that move had the transfer rule adjustments occurred when you were still playing, because now you can transfer to a school and not sit out a year in the same division or Division I. But just what do you look back on? What do you remember? What were your takeaways playing Division II? I know a lot of athletes are probably aiming for that Division I spot and all of the, I don't want to say glory, but Division I gets attention. Division II, not so much, especially here in the Twin Cities when you've got a lot of pro teams. We have 2 women's teams, well, 3 actually. Well, Aurora's pre-pro, but you've got the Whitecaps, not Pride, that's Boston, for women's hockey. The Lynx, a team that you've seen a lot, all the men's teams here. And Tampa, you've got the Bucks, the Rays, the Lightning. So it can be harder to stand out in Division II, but from the conversations that you and I had, and even from what you're saying, it sounded like it benefited you in ways you would not have anticipated had you not taken that step.
Right. Yeah, so looking back, we definitely had it harder now with athletes now, Division I, Division II. It's sad to say, I want to say it like this, but it seemed like now, after the pandemic, now it's like these athletes are getting like handouts. And that's just me. We had to work for ours. I mean, back then it was known if you don't play Division I, you won't get reckoned, like you just mentioned. It's hard to stand out if you don't play Division I. Back then it was cutthroat. Like it was, if you don't go to at least a mid-major, you won't get noticed a lot or stuff like that. Nowadays it's like, okay, even if you go JUCO, as long as you ball out, you might be drafted. Most likely be drafted. Just ball out. It's all about just balling out. And back then I felt like you had to average like 30, 40 points to get recognized. And honestly think that back then it was definitely hard. We weren't thinking about an NIL, you know, we weren't thinking about if you transfer, you got to sit out a year, and that's why I chose drop down, because I could went to another D1, but I didn't want to waste a year. But now it's like they changed so many rules. Now I feel like, man, I wish I was still in high school or college or whatever it is, because now it seems like it's getting handouts now, as if the pandemic treated the world so bad. Now they're trying to like repay it in a way, and I'm like, well, that's not the right way to go. I feel like I never thought the rules should be even past into now. I think that if you want to transfer, you shouldn't. Why we suffer to sit out a year? If you're not happy or education, whatever it is, you shouldn't suffer to sit out a year. That shouldn't be, you know. But I don't make the rules, but that's just me. But it was definitely now. These generation now, they definitely have it slap on the wrist. You know, I mean, they can, yeah, they have it great now. Because back then we had to work for ours. If you don't go to at least a mid-major, don't even think about, you know.
I do find that point you made intriguing, though, because I agree with you, LaShayla, in the sense that we don't put a lot of stock or value into D2 or D3. And I've said this a lot. I'm not the author of your story, so if you were able to go like Paige Beckers to UConn, fantastic, or Tessa Johnson to South Carolina, yes, we'll celebrate that, but ultimately my reputation is dependent on what happens to you. But you were able to take what you learned and what you demonstrated at Tampa and turn that into a professional opportunity, which for a lot of Division II players, I don't know if that's something they ever thought about. Of course, you started at D1, so you knew, hey, I was good enough to play at the higher levels. So after you've completed your eligibility at Tampa, what was the process like finding an agent and going through all of the necessary steps to reach the professional ranks?
Well, I had help. Whether they are player, coach, you know, I just had a lot of people around me that guided me to look at the pros and cons, what you can go through, all this. So it was the people. I would say my college coach had connections, but I also was getting messages from Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp. So they were already contacting me through those platforms of saying, you know, we're interested. So it wasn't now we got your name from your coach. It was more about just being out there. Like, you know, agents, overseas teams can find you on YouTube, or they can find you by just Googling the name, or even when you walk outside right now and have a ball in your hand. That's how it's different ways of getting it. But for me, I was getting a lot of DMs. I was getting a lot of calls. I was getting a lot of messages from WhatsApp or Facebook, mainly my Facebook, and reaching out to me. And then that's when I started like, okay, let me talk to my coach. Let me talk to former players or people that's playing right now overseas about what to look for an agent. So, and Kenesha Bell was part of that. She helped me through that too. She helped me guide, like, okay, don't just because the first agent contacts you, don't go with that first agent. Do your research. How you know if he's credible? So it was different things I was looking at. So it was just the people around me. It was actually throughout, I think my sophomore, junior year in college where I start getting, I think it was sophomore year. It's always high school is where I feel like I know I'm gonna play pro. Sophomore year in college where I'm like, yeah, that's when they start like, okay, you got 2 more years left. Or no, whenever COVID hit, I'm sorry. COVID is when they were like, do you want to stop playing college?
2021
yes.
was the COVID year.
Yeah. So 2021, yep. Because that's when I started getting a lot of like, okay, I know you guys are not, because that's when a lot of countries were shut down. So, but they were still asking me, and I was like, well, it's COVID. And I would just, let me take an extra year and use that year not just to get more film, but I don't want to go nowhere yet. Because I was scared to get, you know, I had COVID twice already. So, yeah, I was scared. So
you're like, yeah, I don't want to see if third time is the charm, right? I'm sorry, I'm making light of this, but yeah, you're in one piece though, so clearly you were able to recover. But yeah, no, I get it. A lot of athletes, I think, were in your position. You know, what if I get sick? What happens? And another old friend of mine, you know, she had it, and she was a nervous wreck. Most of my relatives or siblings from my immediate family got it too, and so no, there was just a lot of juggling. It was not fun.
Yeah, because at that time I was like, I do not want to die, And that's what my mindset was every day. I was like, if I heard, you know, if you don't get vaccinated or whatever, you could be hospitalized, you could die from it. So that's why I'm like, but I was getting a lot of them during COVID. And I was shocked. I was like, you would think teams wouldn't even want you to come over there. But it was coaches, you know, it was a lot of where I got my main connection was actually they just reached out to me without telling me how they found me. Or some of them did, like, oh, I saw you on Eurobasket or I saw you on high school. So they would just reach out to me at different platforms. That's just really what it was. And I start asking around, like, okay, who knows a lot about overseas? I heard that some teams don't pay on time or pay at all. Well, wait a minute, I'm not gonna go, you know. So I was worried about that. I was worried about just, you know, I didn't care about traveling. I always traveled, you know, college, you know. So I was never a nervous wreck. Even when I went to Australia, my first, you know, pro contract, I didn't worry about, okay, I'm gonna miss, you know, even though it was 15 hours away. 15 hours, you know, time difference, I mean. So
if you could find a way to drive to Australia, you would be a really, really rich person.
Yeah, it was 15 time difference. So
yeah, I get what you were saying.
Yeah.
Well, and you're across hemispheres in another continent. But how helpful was Kenesha in that process? It sounds like you had a lot of help too, because you're talking about there's a lot, and I presume any prospective athlete watching this or anyone who has gone the overseas route, I know several who played for a year or two. There is a lot of items on that checklist that you might not think about compared to someone who goes to the WNBA. Rachel Banham comes to mind, or Nia Coffey from Hopkins. And some of them do still play overseas, but there is a lot of due diligence you have to put in.
Yeah,
that's what I'm getting from what you're telling me.
Yeah, and it's crazy. I've been blessed because I mean I haven't went through nothing dramatic. Like you hear players not.
Besides meeting me and putting up with my interviews.
No, I never been through anything where I'm like, oh my God, I'm done playing. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be stuck here. Oh my God, I'm not. Knocking on wood, not yet. So when I mean, you know, by the grace of God, God has been awesome. I mean, he's been blessing me since I feel like I picked up a ball. So it was him as well, as if he knew who to, even though I had a lot of help, but I had to narrow down because I had a lot of people in my ear, in my circle that was telling me, you know, what I wanted to hear what I want to hear and what I need to hear. But what I want to hear was what I needed to hear too, but in a good way. And I don't know how to explain that part. But I had just people that was just good. Like when they knew I wanted to play pro, it was as if it was like a whole bunch of like angels, just, you know, as if God was like, okay, I'm gonna bring her in her life and show her or tell her how overseas works, because it's a business. So I mean, I had Kenesha was I had a rough time, you know, a couple of times in Serbia, you know, where I played my second professional contract. She would tell me, like, I told her, like, man, I don't know if I want to be here because I feel like it's, you know, a lot going on. I'm missing home. And she would just give me advice. I mean, she was always just there. Like, I mean, she helped me. She uplifted me, you know. I mean, she said, you know, she would always tell me, you chose this, you know, if you don't have to do it, you know, always choose what you, or do what's best for you. And she was just, she always was the one that just I gravitated on, because not because we play together. I also idolized her too. You know, I thought Kenesha was just one of the best players I've ever seen, you know, but in a way, like, I mean, you know, Paige Beckers and LeBron's always up there, but I got to mention Kenesha going back. Kenesha is the one that her game is just different. I mean, that's a different animal. And forgive me if you watch this, Kenesha. I'm not calling you an animal, but I'm saying you're a beast. You're a beast. It still is, still tearing stuff up. So she was the one that I gravitated to, because she was also my other favorite player too. Yeah, she helped me. It was just a word of advice. Don't think too much. If you got to get out there, she always tell me, just because you sign a contract, if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel right, you can always go home. You know, you can always. So she helped me understand that, but she was the main person, definitely.
Well, you know what's going to happen now. I'm going to have to bring Kenesha on a future episode and ask how she would summarize or characterize you, because if you're calling her a beast of an animal out there, it's like, all right, Kenesha, you get your shot now. No.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Serbia. You started in Australia,
Yes.
kind of toward the end of their NBL 1 season. I suppose it helps that you started your career at a place where English is the primary language in Australia. What led you out there, and how did that translate to spots in the Serbian league and the German league that you played in?
So, once again, the coach, she, I think her name was Donna. I could mention her because she don't watch it, but yeah, she reached out to me on Facebook. Actually, it wasn't even through the agent I had. She was just bluntly just said, I'm interested in playing with the NBL 1. I didn't even know what NBL 1 was at the time. And so she sent me a message on Facebook, and I was just getting out of college. So I was just trying to like go. I wanted to go somewhere. I didn't want to rush to go somewhere where it was like, okay, like some of the hardest countries where, you don't want to, your first year, I always tell people your first year, you don't want to, just because let's say you go to what's the top, Spain or something. First thing in Spain is very hard, very competitive, very hard competitive. It's very tough. It's tough. So, I just wanted to go. It was it's probably semi-pro league. So I was like, my agent, I talked to him. I said, should I go here? Should I, and he would tell me, he'd be like, yeah, go there only because right now you're just not getting out of college. They will want, he was talking about business work. You're just gotta get out of college. They will want somebody that's, the teams you want to play, the countries you want to play at. They want players that have played already in Europe and stuff. So I had to go somewhere kind of quickly a little bit, so I just wanted to use Australia to show that I played somewhere, so to get in shape and, even though I counted for something, but in Australia now, and I've been to Australia before, going back, I've been to Australia with my South Dakota team. We played, it was just a team who was playing there. But I just wanted to get out the house pretty much and just, show that, okay, this is my first stop. They say it's semi-pro, but it also does count for she did play somewhere. So it was, the coach did hit me up on Facebook, was like, yeah, we will want you to play. We saw your film. Any coach do. And then I talked to my agent about it, and he was like, yeah, Australia is beautiful. I said, yeah, I've been there before. I mean, I just want to play, some opportunity. Because at the time, it was slow. Like teams were trying to, we got to wait till August. I'm like, well, I don't want to wait till August. I want to play somewhere. So it was mainly just getting out the house, but also showing that I played somewhere. Don't just use the summer off. So that's how I landed in Australia, and I believe I made the best decision. The team was great. I was there between June and August, so it's towards the end of the season. So, but Australia I was staying with the host family. It was just beautiful, man. I was treated well. Contract was up to par. They were following it. It was good, very good. Australia is beautiful, and I definitely will go back for sure.
Every team you played for, I know your NBL 1 team maybe didn't win a lot of games, but with the team you were on, and that seemed to have carried over to your other leagues, you are one of the leading scorers typically on the team, and I know at NBL 1 you were the leading rebounder too, and you talked about wanting to play interior, near the basket. I remember one game I covered of yours from Kennedy where you had 3 or 4 putbacks and a half.
Oh, yeah. Let me get on that. So, okay, yeah. So Australia, the team, I started late in the Australia team. So I don't think they won any games. I don't know if they won. I don't think they either won a lot of games or they just didn't win any until I got there, something like that. Yeah, that's right. So they didn't win any games yet until the last game in August. So it was, so I was getting pretty much just I was a replacement player pretty much. So I was a replacement player, come in there, just get the stats and help them too. So being on the team, I was the go-to player, as the coach was like, you come here, you gotta dominate. So I just put my head down and just focus on, okay, do y'all watch film? And thank God, Australia, they have film where you could watch, teams. It was easy. You gotta go on NBL1, .com or something like that, and look at the team you're playing. And the moments I sign a contract, I just start looking at teams, and I just, okay, well, I'm playing the 5-4. Just you gotta go and just help that team. It's stats too for you, but help that team as well. So we end up playing all them games, and then the last game we won the last game of the season. So and then we end off. I think it was. I can't remember the record, but it was we won the last game. So, but the overall coach, overall players were definitely family oriented, man. It was great. That's why I liked it the most. Like, yes, we weren't winning games, but we were always together, Yeah, it was a beautiful time in Australia. It was only for 3 months, but it was good so far.
Well, the question I was trying to ask of you is this, and I didn't go back and look at your numbers from Hampton or Tampa per se. I know you played well in Tampa too. I saw some of those things, but the reason I don't look it up is because most players, when they're done, don't talk about that. That's the last thing they are thinking of. How many points and rebounds? But how do you feel everything you took part in as a pro in your first year enabled you to show who you are, where you have been, I think, the leading scorer, at least one of the leading scorers with every team you played? What do you think this course trajectory has done to give you that opportunity to show what you're capable of?
It helped me. Okay, well, I've always been a player where, yes, I'm putting up stats, but it's the heart of the game for me. I mean, I just always just gave my all. I mean, I just the leader role. Like, I know I read books and stuff like that. Like, I'm always in the library, so. I read books just looking at, like, I guess I was on the Kobe mentality. Like, I knew I had to a lot of teams that's higher, like the EuroLeagues, they look at, okay, yes, she's scoring and she's rebounding herself, but she helping and winning, but is she also a team leader? So I had to look at all that. So it helped me, like, my heart always been helping people on this, before myself anyway. So it helped me, just to look out for others, I guess. That's all thing I can really say. I mean, it helped me really grow as a person. Like, okay, she might not fit your skill set, but you can help her develop as a player for herself. And so it just, I guess, just being that strength for that team. And I always feel bad whenever we lose, or and I would just take all that in and be like, okay, I'm gonna go watch film. I'm gonna go and do that. So just a leadership. I mean. Because it's not about me, Yes, I'm putting up stats, but it's not about me. It's about us winning too, and it's about helping people, and so that's pretty much what it was.
So, how did Australia lead to Serbia, and then from Serbia to Germany?
Okay, so after Australia, I came home because that Australian was for me pretty much to get stats there and help the team too, but. So I came home for a little bit for
sort of like the resume builder.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
It was
right.
your calling card. Like, okay, the way
mm-hmm.
we all update our resumes when we're searching for a job, that was your resume builder.
Yep.
So you came home.
I came home for at least a month or two. I can't remember. It was August. Yeah. So I came home for a little bit. Again, like any other player, I was looking for, offers, and my agent was too, whenever anybody had an opening. So I was home for a little bit. I was home for a little bit, working out, doing my same routine, working out every morning. One day when I went on Instagram, I saw an opening. I had my agent, because usually a lot of agents post their openings, and I reached out to my agent. And I was like, there's an opening in Serbia. I didn't know anything about Serbia. I just thought it was in Europe, because they always say you got to play in Europe if you, like, the more you play in Europe, it's more beneficial. You have more experience. So the more you play in Europe, then it can lead you to WBA. That's always what I tell, and it's true. You got to play more in Europe, because how it works is WBA teams look at, when you play overseas, look at, has she played in Europe? Has he played in Europe? So I was at home, and I was just mainly looking at teams. And I just saw the opening, and I before I reached out, because I don't talk to multiple agents, I don't do that, I don't believe in that. When I saw the opening from another team posting, I reached out to my current agent. I said, can you reach out to this team, because they're looking for a 5 player in Europe? So I'm like, okay, and he ended up talking to the coach, they negotiated everything, and that's how it led to Serbia. It was my agent I had, he reached out to the team, and they negotiated a contract, and then that's how it led to Serbia. Stayed in Serbia for short. It was just a lot. It was a lot. I didn't, it was a lot of things going on in Serbia, and I'm like, okay, it's just time to go. So I ended up leaving Serbia, went home for, again, just another month, again, doing the same thing I was looking for a job. Got a new agent. The new agent well, sorry, going back. The new agent helped me get the job, definitely. But it's also another girl that played in a former team in Germany. So her name was Brianna Williams. I don't know if you might know her, but
Did she go to Hopkins?
no, she played.
Okay, I'm thinking of another Brianna then.
Yeah, she's another player. Yeah, she used to play in Germany. So
Okay.
she got contact with the coach too and was like, okay, well, a player, is looking to play in Europe again. She just came back from Serbia, good player, stats are good. So from there, she reached out to the coach, or I think she did reach out to the coach, or she was like, yeah, a player wants to come here. She's looking for a team to play for. Should she play in Germany? Or, he was like, she sent my film to him and just pretty much just said, I used to play, or I know her. And then my new agent reached out to the coach, and that's when they negotiated the final say, like the contract, the car, anything I got in the contract, it was negotiated. So that pretty much it was two people. It was the agent, and then she also played for the team. She played for the former team before, and she already knew the coach, and so that's just how much that's how I led up to Germany. So, but Germany was definitely beautiful. I got everything I needed. Transportation was beautiful. It was nice. People were just nice. The overall country was nice. It was a lot of things to do in Germany. I went to Amsterdam Amsterdam was like 2 hours away, so I went to Amsterdam to see the Anne Frank house. So I traveled a lot. The team in Germany was on a winning and losing strike too, but they were I think third or fourth when I got there. So they did pretty well when I first got there. And then they had injuries. People were getting sick. People had to go home, and that's when I came in and just helped the team a little bit. So, yeah.
What was the adaptation process like going from Australia then to Serbia and Germany? Because you started your career in a place where, again, English is the primary language, so a little easier to settle in. Serbia and Germany, not so much. What was that? What was that like?
Let me start with Serbia. I'm sorry. So Australia only difference was over there was that they drove on different sides in the car. Like, how we drive on like the left side, they drove on the right side.
And they borrowed that from when British settlers came in, et cetera. So they go left when we go right in terms of lanes. Yes.
Yeah. So to Serbia, very different. I mean, the teammates I was playing with and the coach I was playing with or playing for, they understood English, but they spoke it too. But in a way, they spoke mainly Serbian. So a lot of my teammates, I had to translate a little bit. Like we'd be in practice, they had to translate for me and tell me what to do in practice or how to do a drill. So so the Serbian people mainly spoke Serbian. Everywhere I went, I had to translate everything. I knew only specific words, but it wasn't hard because I didn't really have to do much to learn the language in a way. Like all I had to do was just like only time I talked to somebody is if I had to go to a store, I had to translate, how much this is or how was your day, stuff like that. So everywhere I went in Serbia, it was tricky because I had to translate everything. But everywhere else I went in Germany, they spoke German, but they understood English and they spoke English too. So, but Serbia was the main country. It was hard to talk to people for sure because they spoke Serbian. But what helped me was I translated everything, and that's what I had to do. So,
well, I know that's often the biggest conflict or the biggest obstacle that everyone has to clear. But you also spoke of some of the places you got to visit. What were some sites that you were excited to see that had it not been for basketball? Like you said, you went to Amsterdam and visited the place where Anne Frank and her family hid from the Nazi occupations back in World War II. I presume that's a surreal moment, but what were some places, locations that really struck a chord with you? Good, bad, indifferent, just things that you look back on and you're proud to visit.
It was definitely Germany. Serbia, I had to stay where I was. Australia and Serbia, I couldn't really go far out because transportation was tricky. Mainly in Serbia because the cars they drove stick shift too, but you had to pay. It was looked more expensive to travel in Serbia. I've been to Belgrade. Belgrade was only there for like 2 hours, just exploring. So Belgrade was beautiful. Again, the food, people, everything was beautiful in Belgrade. We played in Belgrade too. Australia, I had to ride places, but I stayed in the city. I just stayed in that one city. I didn't go out anywhere. But Germany, whew, yes, I couldn't go to where I want to go was Berlin, Munich, but they were 6 hours away, and I did have a car, but I didn't know how to drive a stick shift. So while I'm currently home, I am signed up to learn how to drive a stick shift right now. So Stick Shift Academy, I'm learning to drive that because again, I don't know where I'll be playing next, but it's in process right now. But yeah, Germany, I went to in Germany, I went to Amsterdam, which is 2 hours away. I was in Neuss, Germany, which is 2 hours away from Anne Frank House. So I took a train and a bus, that's all. So it was pretty easy to get there. My eyes opened when I got there because Amsterdam was, gosh, the houses were so tightly packed together, but it was so nice, and the streets were narrow. Again, people were very like, I don't know who was nicer, the Australian people or German people. So I was Amsterdam people. So they were all just welcoming. I mean, I didn't go through anything over there. But far as Germany, I've been to just Amsterdam, which is 2 hours away. I couldn't go to Munich and Berlin, but when I go back, I'm definitely gonna go visit there. Because I'm a history person. I like to see, I mean, a lot of things happened in Germany. I mean, I could mention Hitler. I mean, literally. So a lot of things happened there. So, yeah, I've been to Amsterdam and Amsterdam to Dusseldorf, if I'm saying the city right. Dusseldorf is it had like a lot of monuments, history monuments, mainly about World War II, the Great Depression, all that stuff. So it was great to see that. Yeah, it's just beautiful.
You're a history buff. I had no idea.
Yeah. I love history. I love history. That was my favorite subject. That science and math.
Math was one of mine too, which folks might find a little strange. There was a running joke that reporters, media members would run away from math, but being in sports, like math is so helpful. Like I've said, actually, sports is a great place for nerds like myself because there's so much math in it.
Yeah.
So I know you want to get into criminal justice for your career, LaShayla, when you're done playing, but maybe start a series. Well, I don't know if History Channel does a whole lot now, but have you thought about maybe doing your own little history series because you've gotten a chance to see a few places that resonate, as you said, especially with Germany and World War II and everything they've done to move forward from that. Yeah. I think you might have something there.
Well,
you've got somebody who could help you put vetoes together.
Yeah, I was actually okay. I was see, I'm just like my 8-year-old little sister. I'm a very open, person. I mean, I like this, I like that. That's why it's kind of hard for me to narrow down because, for example, if it wasn't for basketball, I would have did nursing as my major. But I couldn't be in practice or a game and also play ball. My coach was like, you either gonna be in practice of games or you're gonna be in nursing. The labs were 6 hours long, almost weekly or something like that. So there was no way I could be in nursing. So it was being a nurse to being into criminal justice. So it was just something about I'm just an open person. I mean, I don't know. I don't like being bored. I don't like sitting in the house all day. I like traveling. I like being active. So I like everything as long as I'm just not in the house. So the history part, I don't really see, but definitely coaching though. Coaching, but definitely is what I'm gonna do. Coaching, referee, and hopefully I don't care. It could be college, high school, young kids for coaching, but definitely want to do that after I get done playing. And being referee, of course, that could be doing something on the side. But I'm actually trying to look to apply to do a referee for WNBA or NBA or something like that. So you gotta have a little bit more credentials, but I'm trying to work my way there. So
throughout your career, LaShayla, I might have a guess into some of these answers, but I'd like to hear from you. Who did you enjoy playing alongside with the most? And up to this point, who was the toughest player you had to go against?
Kanisha Bell. I gotta go back.
Which
to
one
high
is
school. Kanisha Bell?
To go against or to play with?
Oh, play with high school. Cause I have to mention her because high school it was one game and it was one game. I think it was either state game or regular. I can't remember, but I still think she's overall, but like, based on the women too. But she helped me grow. Like, it was one game and my coach was trying to put me in, or well, I was sitting on the bench next to him, and she dribbled up the court and she looked over and was like, "Are you ready, Shay?" And I just got up and I went without even the coach. She was basically telling the coach like, "Okay, put her in." So she looked over and was like, "Are you ready?" And I'm like, "Yeah." So I went to the table where you try to check in and come in the game, and it just went in, and me and her just played together. We just, she was the one toughest to play with, because her IQ of the games to this day is still the same. I mean, nothing changed, and she just helped me look at the game differently. Like, you have a point guard where she's gonna throw you a dive pass, you don't know when it's gonna come. I mean, that's how you're supposed to always be focused. So it was definitely Kanisha. Like, college, I would say, high school was definitely Kanisha Bell. College, I would say, playing it up. It was a lot of. It's too many to name. I can't name one, but it was a lot of players. I mean, yeah, it was a lot of players that I played against, or I could mention my college teammate Malia Sullivan at Tampa. Whew, very tough guard. Stocky, very strong. I mean, smart. I mean, will tell you, like, she was so smart, just like Kanisha. Kanisha could score 20, I swear, in five minutes. I think that's what she could do in 5 minutes, and she would, as if she scored, she's telling you to move like she's, I mean, it was awesome. So Kanisha Bell for high school, Malia Sullivan at University of Tampa, another guard. So very tough, very tough. and so far pro, can't really name, because it was either girls that were on my level or better that I played against. So it was, yeah.
Well, and I asked who were the toughest player to go against too, because I know you were all googly-eyed, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, when you got to meet Lauren Jackson.
Yeah.
But who were some players that you had to go against that, like I said, maybe were really tough? Like the toughest people you had to face.
Okay, so when I got to Australia, Lauren Jackson wasn't playing yet or she was part of the team, but she wasn't playing yet with the team. So she was there, she wasn't there until after I left Australia. The team, I would say, Unique Thompson. I don't know if you know her. She's I forgot what college she went to, but she played in Russia as well. She was drafted but ended up getting waived. I would say Unique Thompson. She played for the Bandits, or I believe her Australian team. So I would name her because it was hard to guard her. It was. I mean, yeah. So it was definitely Unique Thompson.
And I lost track as to how many you went up against, but not only with high school, college, pro, but AAU as well. So it seems like that list is pretty long.
AAU, I can't remember, but I know with some top teams. I think that I would say one team, I would say Triple Threat from AAU. I think they're number one, I think. I think they were number one in the country, and we were third or fourth, or maybe fifth. Between third and fifth we were. And we always played against number one, second team, or even on our, tied. But definitely Triple Threat is the team we played. Yeah, yep, Triple Threat.
And then I'm thinking, you played alongside Kanisha Bell, Nia Holly went D1. Elena Jarnett is the state leader in assists all time. So you've been witness to some pretty high-level basketball there. On a related point, LaShayla, up to this point, what would you say is the most exciting moment of your basketball career, and what has been the most embarrassing moment?
The most exciting, just making it pro. Overall, I mean, having just like I'm blessed because I chose to play these places, and but I made it just having the opportunity, because it's not rare that somebody go overseas, because it's way easier to go overseas than WNBA, but because whether it's low money or high money.
I know.
It's all about,
Have you seen all the first rounders that get cut now?
I'm very disappointed in that, because I go on and on about that, but it's
all of us
sad.
have. I think you've probably seen it on Twitter. We're all like, can we expand the rosters, get some more teams, because you're getting this log jam? And I know there's some who have said, and I know this is kind of a tangent, but I remember an article from the New York Times where one of the writers had said, if that's not something that is addressed soon, you might run into some players who consider it too hard and then might take their talents elsewhere. I know, and a lot of players go overseas anyway to either supplement incomes or to get a chance to play. But I will welcome the day when we can get a few more players, whether it's expanding the rosters or adding another team or two to the mix. But you said your most exciting moment was going pro, and then
just going pro in general.
And then most embarrassing moment, if you have one. Ooh. And I'm not looking for like something that is harrowing, but just like a silly moment where you're like, what? How did that happen?
Embarrassing moment. Well, it would have to be somewhere
besides meeting me.
Wow, embarrassing. Oof. I don't have anything in mind.
You were a pretty steady player. I remember you at Kennedy, LaShayla, down low. So you know what? Maybe
I missed a wide open layup. Maybe it was. Oh my yes. Oh, it was in college. It was like my It was my last year. Yep. It's still one of the pictures I sent you.
You sent me that. Why would you send me a photo of your most embarrassing moment?
Well, it doesn't show that I missed the layup, but it was when.
But you'll remember that. You're like, that's.
I did a finger roll layup and it hit the middle of the thing and it came right out. That was most embarrassing because I don't know if we were winning by a lot or little, but it was. It was.
That's not supposed to happen.
No.
And how many times have you done that move?
A lot of times. So I don't know what I was thinking. I wasn't thinking about nothing. I just went up for a layup and
You were thinking about that future contract of yours, weren't you? You got a little distracted.
So I went up for it and it hit the middle. It came right out like it was supposed to go right in, but it didn't. So and people were laughing because they were like, okay, well, they're probably up by 20. I think we're up by 20 already. And they were like, okay, well, why she missed that? So I remember
there are worse times to miss a bunny like that.
Yeah.
With everything you've experienced, and I know your professional career is just beginning, and it sounds like you have a lot of paths, and I know you and I share a lot of connections, so whether you want to get into coaching or refereeing or broadcasting, I think you have a lion's share of pathways to choose from. But with everything that's happened, what would you tell a younger version of yourself, considering where you've been, what you've achieved, and what's to come?
Definitely my younger self. Start getting up a little earlier. Kobe hours. Do what Kobe exactly did. That's what I would say. Definitely. Do what Kobe did. Don't wait. Don't sleep.
I thought you were a LeBron fan. No.
Well, Kobe too. But
there's a friend of mine who might take issue with you about that because she is a huge Kobe fan, can't stand LeBron, really can't stand his fans, but that's another story. I'm going to send her this, though, because just to see her.
I would say get up a little early before school and just dominate. So you have to worry about, I have practice later on, not every day, but I will have practice like every other day after school. But I would say get up a little, and just, I feel like I had to say like this, take it more seriously when I was younger, as if like, you're young, don't always listen to people say, you got so many years to play, but when you play pro, it's just, I would say definitely take it more seriously, do a little bit more than I did. Just waking up early and getting out the way. I mean, I know it sounds crazy. I'm going to be a 10-year-old leaving the house. I'm like, where are you going? But my mom would understood it if I would just said that. So I would just say, wake up a little more earlier. Don't have to worry about going after school or whatever, just doing it before school. So, definitely.
Going back to what you said, and I'm like, you know what? I'd like to think you, your mom, your siblings probably weren't worried because when you took up karate or basketball, it kept you out of trouble.
Yeah.
Being that defiant little bundle of energy.
Yeah, right.
I guess you gave us an answer, but I'll throw it out anyway because I like to hear the responses we get. But is there something unusual about yourself that people wouldn't know if they met you for the first time, whether it's an interest, hobby? Again, you touched on it a little bit with your fascination with history, but what is a fun fact about you that people wouldn't necessarily know from meeting you?
I like hermit crabs.
You like hermit crabs? Yeah, well, that is something I had no idea.
I used to have 2 hermit crabs, and I don't know what happened to them to this day. I think either they might have died or I gave them away. I can't remember. But I like hermit crabs. I haven't had one since I was, really can't remember, but I like hermit crabs. Yeah.
Will you get one as a pet when you get your own place or get settled in?
Maybe.
Or is that an
I haven't
animal you can
seen
have
it.
as a pet, or will you just go to the beach and
Oh no, they used to have them at the mall.
or the
America.
mall
Yeah.
or the beach? I mean, the beach,
Yeah,
there's nothing wrong there too.
I used to. They just. I mean, and I like hermit crabs. So. Yeah.
You don't have to have a reason. I just asked, what's a fun fact about you? You don't have to have any explanation.
Yeah.
If you just like hermit crabs,
Yeah.
that is something I never would have thought, actually.
Yeah.
I know you and I could keep going and for more than what we have. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground, and I know you talked about maybe broadcasting isn't your first choice, but the conversations you and I have had, LaShayla, over the years, I think suggest that there might be a path because whether it involves announcing games or doing a program like Stephen A. Smith with First Take or the talk shows, you and I, even just from all the conversations we've had about the logjam when it comes to WNBA spaces for players, I think you'd have a lot to offer, and you certainly aren't shy about expressing yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I also like homework. I don't know, in school I used to ask for extra homework. Even during my master's, I'm like, I love school. I love school. Like I will do a paper in a heartbeat. I don't know. I just love school.
I might have a suggestion as to why that is. That might seem like a weird answer, but it's like you said, you don't like being bored. You don't like being idle. So that probably was that inner voice trying to give you something to do so that you would have something to focus on.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? That's not a bad thing because I know you've often celebrated your report cards when they came in, and I know that goes a long way. Folks probably aren't going to ask for your transcripts when you're done, but knowing that you were on top of your studies, and I've heard, not often, but I know occasionally there are athletes who don't take it as seriously as they should have, and they have to get back on track. And that is amusing that you would look for extra work. But you know what? I think that speaks to how hard you go after a lot of things, whether it's basketball studies and this pursuit of yours. And I don't know. I feel like we covered a lot. I know you have been eager to share your story. And is there anything you'd like to close out with if we haven't touched on it already?
Well, no, I'm currently still playing. So home for the summer and just waiting to hear back from where I play at next. I'm excited. I'm just getting a lot of stuff to do, a lot of stuff done while I'm here before I go back overseas. So, but a word of advice for people that want to play pro anywhere, please do your research on countries. You gotta look at not just the agent, but also like the language, the food, how you gonna be able to adjust and be away from home. So just always mentally prepare for that, because I'm telling you, just because you get a contract where it's $500 to $10 or $500 to $10K, it's not about the money. It's about, you can be happy with the money, but what if you go over there and don't play, or you go over there and can't adjust and they're gonna just send you home? So always do your research and and always just go over there to ball. You're over there just to ball out. So you always just want to just stay focused on that. Don't worry about what's going on back at home while you're overseas. You got to worry about what's going on while you're overseas, and that's the word of advice. Just reach out, research resources. I mean, because a lot of players to this day, they I just want to just play pro. I don't care how much. I don't care where. But you should care, because you go over there and then you be shocked at what happens. So always prepare for the worst. I say that because I hear horror stories. I mean, people go through stuff I would never imagine. So just realize it's a business too. Don't, just because you average 20 points in high school, college, or 30 points a game all your 4 years, doesn't mean you're gonna get the biggest money contract. So you always prepare for the worst, but mainly just go over there and ball out. Do what the coaches ask you to do, all that, because you're there to perform. You're there to show out. So, but always prepare for the worst, for sure.
And if there's one quick addendum, if I can add to it, money is nice, and I'm sure that first paycheck, what you got as a pro, left you feeling pretty good, but time is a resource too.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's not just about the dollar amounts, but everything that goes into it. So
Yeah.
all of that does come into play.
Yeah, and all time management too. If you got schoolwork on the side, you got to realize time difference. Like, for example, I did mention Australia is 15 hours ahead of time. Right now, they could be in a whole nother day, which I believe they are. So you got to realize, like, your time management is big. It's big. Don't have, if you know you got to practice at this time, if you know you got a game, you have to, you're there to focus on basketball. So if you have something else going on the side, just, you have to put what you got going on currently, first, because it won't work out if you don't plan out. You gotta, time management is big for sure.
Well, LaShayla, I think you and I, maybe after your next season, we can revisit this because I feel like we only scratched the surface on everything that has made your story what it is up to this point. But I'm glad we finally got this out of the way. I know we've been talking about this for some time. You reached out to me, actually, and I'm not doing that to put you on the spot, but it's not often that players come to me. Usually I'm the one reaching out, and it's fine either way. I enjoy sharing stories, but I'm glad we had a moment, an opportunity, a chance to tell a part of yours, and I look forward to what the next chapter appears or looks like when you either go back to Germany or find another league to play for. Who knows? Maybe you might find a spot in a WNBA team.
Right. I pray. Give me a chance, please. Yeah.
Well, best of luck to you, LaShayla, as you continue your career as a pro. And if you want to give broadcasting a try, you know where to reach me.
Right. Well, thank you.
It might be the biggest mistake you ever made, having to put up with me for a whole game, but no, it's a lot of fun. I always enjoy having other voices offer their insights to mine. So again, best of luck, LaShayla, and we'll see what the next leg of that quest looks like.
Yes, thank you for having me, Mike, and thank you guys for listening to my story.
Once again, LaShayla Wright-Ponder, and if you have a story that you'd like others to listen to, we're happy to give you a platform as well. Just contact us on social media at @TheMikePeden. If you've got a story, we're happy to share it. So until next time, thanks for watching.